Welcome back. This is part 11 of our Galactic history. I'm Lance White with Andrew Bartzis. And one of the things that came up for me during the break was the numerous wars. Are those being planned out as part of the final chess moves, or are some of that unexpected? The wars that are going on right now around the world, what's the game plan with that?
There are unexpected things happen. An example, the fruit vendor in Tunisia. He was an unexpected wave of rebellion, totally against the entire system that was looking at our data and predicting us to do this, or this. The guy in Tunisia, he was a fruit vendor who said he had to pay taxes or have some kind of license, and he set himself on fire in the square, which set off a whirlwind of stuff in Tunisia, Egypt, Afghanistan, all over the Middle East, up into Syria. But that one fruit vendor, what was being protested was actually food issues. Price of food had tripled. The price of olive oil had gone through the roof, and that's the staple of the staple for them.
Yeah.
The same thing in Egypt. Egypt was about the price of food. Okay? That's how out of touch they were. They had raised the price of food so much so people could no longer eat that were in middle-income jobs.
Which is happening here in America.
Yes.
In fact, it's happening very rapidly.
Well, they're trying to take our water away from us and make it pay for it, too.
Right. They've already taken the air.
As for the wars, we see Tunisia. Tunisia fell. As Tunisia was rising, the main controller forces looked at this and said, this is gonna suck for us. We have to do something quick. So they divested all of their assets out of Iraq and Afghanistan and put them in Tunisia so that they could co-op any rebellion move that was going to go, because they knew it was going to spread. It goes to Egypt in the beginning, and then you have the Green Movement in Iran. Egypt was still a little blip on the radar in Tahrir Square. They'd only been there like 6 or 7 days. And then you have what's going on in the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution would be the 2 months before, would be before Christmas.
Okay.
The Green Revolution, they're in their run-up to their election. Millions are out. They pull out the guns. They start killing people in the street. It's live on TV. So that tells you that the government is going to suppress rebellion.
Right.
That's the media outlook. This was actually shown here for a reason. Think of how many of the wars aren't shown to us. The war in Turkey and Syria that's going on now. Do they show that any day at all?
No.
But they showed the Green Revolution, the people getting killed in the streets for a reason.
Was that to turn us against Iraq?
That was fear.
Well,
to create fear.
Right.
They already divested all their forces out of Iraq. They realized they already lost. Now the tribes want them, they want them there, and they wanted prosecutions for their war criminals on the American side. Plus all the corruption and the fact that $4.5 trillion is missing from Reconstruction.
What else is new on that?
Okay? The bribery went to the highest levels there. So Iraq was divested because they got all the technology they wanted out from under the ground. There's all sorts of technology that they need. Afghanistan's a little different. There are actually vessels embedded in the mountains, they're out of phase in the mountains that have been there for millions of years. And they're extremely valuable vessels on the black market. Very valuable. Or the technology in them is so intense that it can increase the power of one faction a lot.
Wow. And so do they know where these...
you have to go search for them literally. It's like quite on a low scale level. You have to be like actual psychic people in the spot to understand how to pull the vessel out, because the vessel has a limited consciousness in it.
Interesting. And there must be numerous places in Egypt and devices
all throughout the whole world.
Well, right. Yes.
All throughout the whole world.
Right. So the dark hasn't discovered all these items.
Nor has the light.
Right.
But people purposely left those there so the future people would find them.
Right, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance?
Correct.
Okay, and what was Area 51 about? Was that...
Area 51 is where the time travel missions needed an anchor location so that they can go and get missions anytime they were in the time stream. So let's say you got put back 30 years.
Okay.
If you needed an update and didn't want to communicate to anything but something that has connection to the timeline you came from, you'd go to Area 51. with a special passcode which would take you to the time travel division.
Wow. What else exists there?
Everything we talked about.
Right. Because all these technologies
All these are there.
are all, yeah.
But at the same time, a lot of their technologies have been removed. They figured out a way how to get past their suppression fields and just teleport all the technology they wanted out.
Where to where?
The good guys took it out.
Oh,
Put it in
I
someplace safe.
got it. So in other words, the toys of the big boys are being
Taken away.
Taken away.
Israel has been hurt pretty bad that way.
Okay.
Much of their multidimensional technology has been completely incapacitated.
Ah.
They still have tricks up their sleeve, but the stuff they expected to have until the end isn't there.
Oh.
Think of both knights and all your pawns are gone.
Okay.
That's where Israel is right now.
Wow. It does feel like they're on their last legs.
You never know.
But right,
You never
and
know.
they all reinvent
Honestly,
themselves.
They all reinvent themselves.
They come back somehow. They
Mhm.
come up with a new, or they have an ace in the sleeve.
Exactly.
You know, and
Or a gun in their sleeve.
Too many of those.
Exactly.
Um,
So the Syrian war.
yeah. What about that?
All the wars that exist right now on our planet are meant to suppress the chakra energy that's below it.
Oh.
There are a cluster of womb chakras all throughout the Middle East, called the Garden of Eden at one point in the Bible.
Mm.
What it meant is there could be thousands of local realities within that zone that were all birthing new life that could be transported to a new blank Akashic record planet.
Mm-hmm.
It was life that was meant to rapidly be created and then sent somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening there now is war, so every time someone dies, they're instantly recycled back into the system of war. So you could die once and all of a sudden be forced to be a walk-in on somebody else who's dying.
Ooh, that could get pretty tiring.
And
after
that is what's suppressing the energy of the chakras
Okay.
from waking up. These will be the first sets of chakras that wake up and begin to change the people in that area. And that's why there's war there, and that's why the rebellion started with a fruit vendor, because that was the first opening of the collection of those chakras.
So once that energy starts to circulate, it seems like there's almost nothing that could stop it.
Correct.
Once a wild card
Is played.
outside of the predictive models comes in.
All the old models don't mean the same value.
Right, and they can't keep up with them fast enough, no matter how much technology they have,
Correct.
to predict what's going to come next.
Exactly.
And so that kind of would level the playing field to some extent.
It would put the neutrality people back in a place where they can create secrets that the light and the dark don't know about, which can make the gameplay faster.
Okay, all right.
And once the game plays faster, you have to show more of your moves.
Right. So the neutrality people are the ones that really
Step on the gas pedal.
You're right, and those are
The walk-ins.
The walk-ins.
That are
Okay.
brought in by Prime Creator, his choice, because he's scanned everyone that's on this planet
Right.
and understands what other service to universe entities are ready to step in and take the hardest job ever,
Right.
which is to take over the contracts of people at the controller levels
Right.
to end a system of domination and control that's been going on in a 52 million year time war history.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a 38,000 year suppressed ascension
Right,
cycle.
yeah.
So, I just lost my train of thought. We were talking about the walk-ins.
The walk-ins.
So that completely changes the whole game.
Correct.
Because the walk-ins are the Council of 12.
Correct. And their management system below them.
Management system. Okay.
And
we
the
don't
court
know,
system, the spiritual court system,
which is run by the Archons.
run by the Archons.
And the Archons also manage what else?
The control rooms.
Ah.
They have their puppetry energy over the control room people.
Okay. So they don't have to manage the control rooms directly. They manage the people in them.
Correct.
And then the people in the control rooms manage the
People below them
which
are the bankers.
okay. And then the next layer down below
The
that.
bankers control the governments.
Right. Okay. And then
The governments run the strings of the thugs.
Right. And then the mafia runs interference for all of them. Yeah. And the royals kind of
Hold the contracts so the system exists, because there has to be contract holders for the system.
okay, right. So they're
They're the ones that hold the paper.
right. They
It's you.
own the world.
Exactly.
And then the Vatican.
Holds the paper over the soul contracts. A lot of people are in the baptized situation.
Now, the purpose of baptism is to keep the
Put
soul...
you in that contract of tacit consent forever.
So, getting baptized is not necessarily a good thing. That's where they seal the spirit from...
Yes, but at the same time, there are people that are healed from baptism. And this is again to get to religion. There are good people in religion.
Right.
Religion is hijacked, and there are bad people in religion, thus the pedophilia organizations. But for religion to be what it is, there has to be good in it. Otherwise, nobody would have ever bought it.
But to what extent is
the
good?
Highest ends?
The highest levels have to
are
be
government, which are separate of religion.
Okay. All right.
The governing body of the church, which is the Vatican, is a country that has people that have citizenships all over the world. So you see the duality of the Vatican. It's a country that holds the spiritual contracts of a religious organization that's global and forcibly spreading and passively spreading versus other religions that are forcibly and passively spreading also.
Okay, like the Mormons.
The Mormons, the Buddhists.
Any of them. They're all,
promoted.
Any religion is...
They're all promoted.
Yeah, promoted, yeah. So there's no one better than another. And then that brings us to the sacred texts that you said were all basically holographic documents.
Yep.
And
co-opted after or before they're written.
Right, it would have to be.
Because it's about passing the generations and allowing the generation to reinterpret based off of the predictive models they have, and if something goes wrong, they can fix it the next generation and print it the way they want it.
Right, they just put the 11th printing or whatever, or they just erase it. Erase it, and then you don't even know that what you're holding is a different version because the old one doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what about a physical... There's a lot of controversy about Jesus in his life and what he did and who he was and so on and so forth. Now, as I understand it, everything that manifests at the metaphoric level has to also, or as above, also has to exist as below. So there has to be a physical manifestation of 12 disciples or 12 people, whether they're, literal or not, and there has to be somebody that incarnates as a being that it represents. And many people have felt that they are that particular being, and that has to do with the God program.
God programming, or you at one point were a sovereign piece of that entity that chose to become part of earth consciousness instead of taking on a body or going to the astral world. It went total to service to earth, and it's allowing its name and imagery of that other lifetime to go through time, and then there will be future people that will look at that energy and recognize that at one point I was 25 degrees of separation, that person. Okay. But you're not really that person. Right. It's like saying my great-grandfather times 52 that I lived one life in time next to is me, but they're not. Right. Their energy is so powerful that it goes through the bloodlines. Right. And now what can we find out about the actual person that lived and those, He was a real person. Okay. I mean, the trivial stuff in the Bible, and then there's the more expansive stuff in the Bible. He wasn't on the cross. Okay, right. He wasn't on the cross. I've always thought that. Trying to be a little delicate I know some of the audience out there is really connected to some of these concepts. Yeah. He wasn't tortured. Right. Okay. He was betrayed, but not in the way that the Bible was stated. Okay. His betrayal was by other light beings, actually. Really? Other light beings who didn't want to see the bastardization of the teachings. Okay. So they said, you got to go. Huh. You got to go. So would You're screwing up our system of light while the dark was still trying to win. So they said Jesus had to go? They made sure that it was not the right time for him to stay. Oh, interesting. Interesting. The light forces are not unified. Oh, right. That's pretty clear. Make that clear. They are not unified. That's pretty clear. You can see that in the New Age movement, and of course that's all been co-opted in the Lightworker. Correct. The fragmentation. Jesus was a real being that traveled the world and also traveled the stars.
Okay, some say he went to Egypt for a lot of his esoteric training.
And the Himalayas, and Japan,
Oh, nice.
and Australia,
Wow.
and Native America,
Wow.
Mesoamerica, South America, Asia, all over.
So he was able to travel anywhere.
He used the Hollow Earth or Garth and Tube networks.
Interesting. Interesting. Did he, in his journeys...
There were many mystics throughout the Middle East that knew how to use the tunnels.
Okay.
Okay. As well as those in the Vatican, because there's Vatican-based tunnels also.
Oh, right. And then there are maglev trains underneath.
These are consciousness trains. Right?
Oh, okay.
There are maglev trains too, but these are actually tunnels that once you start traveling, you go into no time. And if you're going from one continent to another, it can take a day instead of months.
Okay. Okay, good.
He was also big in Ireland too. Jesus did a lot of work in Ireland too.
I've heard that Ireland is the center or the source of much of the much of what has come out spiritually that has been repressed.
Yes, because there was a massive DNA. How do I put this? Bank that was there. There was the crystals that held the wisdom of all the DNA, separate of the wisdom of the domination and control makers.
Oh, okay.
The Free Earth system had powerful connections in the base soul family, so people were able to transmit the soul codes that I've been talking about, to these basically off-the-record recordings, so that someone would have access to it in the future.
Okay.
Jesus was able to help organize that.
Wow.
Because there were individual families that had individual parts, and when he came there as his teacher, he began healing people in unity. As began people in unity, they all bring their crystal to the table. And that's ultimately why the Vatican was very harmful to the Irish people. Because it was looking for those people that held those objects so that they could erase them or bring them back into the Vatican.
And they did accomplish that.
Correct.
Veronica Keene talks a lot about that. Did you...
I've interviewed Veronica, yes.
Isn't she a wonderful person?
Wonderful.
And I love her channeling of Montague.
Yes.
And another person, I just adore her Montague's words through Veronica. And she's doing quite a bit of wonderful work on the planet as well. Work. And Michael Tsarian is another one that's come out with the origins of the Irish origins of...
yes.
Yeah. And that's another wonderful source of information. Of course, this is much easier to just tap into the Akashic records. Okay, so getting back to Jesus. So he was was he one of the highest light beings?
No.
Not necessarily. There are others.
He's the one that got spun.
Ah.
Let's think of political spin factors.
Okay.
He was an ace. He was we'll just call it a royal flush that was played.
Okay.
And then somebody else played a royal flush on the spin game afterwards.
Oh, yeah, this is what it feels like.
Because he got co-opted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was there. He was real. He changed people locally for 2 generations. 14 generations later, it doesn't matter what he said or what he did.
Right. Right. Because
they wrote him 400 years later.
Yeah. And that's an example of time manipulation.
Correct.
And also changing texts. Yeah.
Changing translations.
Right. For the next generations, which is one of the tricks that, one of many that's being played on us. Okay.
Changing our history as they see fit.
Right, exactly.
And us never knowing it was changed because they took all our oral traditionists.
Right, and we have no clue really about the star families that we come from, because that is so suppressed. That information is really, that's been marginalized.
Correct.
So, did Jesus ever have a relationship?
Yes, and children.
And children.
Yes.
What happened to the children?
Broken into 32 family lineages spread among the kings and queens of Europe. That's why they're contract holders for the system of domination and control. Oh. And that's why his bloodline was so important to dominate. Oh. Because if any others did manifest within his bloodline, they wanted to make sure that the soul family that was in there was controlled.
Right.
Thus, that's why you have a queen now who's the sole contract holder for the monetary value system of exchange. That's what the Queen of England does. Wow. She holds all those soul contracts.
Wow.
Therefore, she has to be a powerful and old soul and has to go through a remembering process.
So what's going to happen with the royal families as the shift increases?
Well, when you start taking away the spin, people will be real angry at them. But at the same time, many of them had no choice. They're just born into a life holding contracts that they have no way of understanding.
Did they have a choice of being born into these?
Maybe 1,000 lifetimes ago.
Oh, right. And like the rest of us, they too have had to keep replaying their roles over and over. And so some of those are probably pretty weary.
Yes.
Even though they have all the keys and
Right.
to the toys and everything else. And they're tired of...
They know they can never defeat the controllers. They've lost hope inside themselves, therefore just play the game.
Ah, right. Interesting. So, all right. So all of Jesus' lineages has been co-opted into the bloodlines.
No, there's a couple bloodlines that are still in secret.
Okay, and the esoteric groups, the various secret groups that are holding, the Rosicrucians and the Masonics and so on and so forth, and all the secret, the Skull and Bones and the rest of it, are holding also holding the technology at the higher levels
And spirit contracts.
and the spirit contracts.
Right.
So they have
They have to actually have beings that hold the contracts physical on Earth for the system to exist. Think of the system itself as holding contracts to millions of controllers.
Wow.
And for the system to exist, there actually has to be a physical being in the matrix holding all the contracts in unity with all the other contract holders for the system to actually exist on top of our incarnation grid, why it's hijacked.
Whew. So that's a lot of layers.
Yes.
And so once that's all removed, once the matrix is no longer functioning as the matrix and the contracts are null and void,
Mhm.
then we are free and sovereign,
Mhm.
and the incarnational process returns to an organic process through Gaia Sophia.
Correct.
And there's a system of courts.
Spiritual courts of equity with all your ancestors present and the proper family lineage members as the judges, with Earth overseeing the judges through unity consciousness.
Okay, that seems like a good plan to me.
Mhm.
I'm all for it.
That's right. Me too.
So, so what do people do to hop on the bandwagon to accelerate this process?
Reclaim your sovereign free will.
Right.
So much about it. Nurturing yourself. I call that the hard work, nurturing yourself.
Yeah.
Nurturing yourself so that you can heal others or heal yourself or find yourself in an opportunity to expand and explore your own consciousness.
Mm.
I'm the only galactic historian out there. We need more. I'm talking to you guys out there. We need you to say yes.
Are you going to be able to
Teach others?
Yes.
At some point that will be made available.
Okay.
The other two that still have their choice haven't been given their opportunity yet.
Okay.
But there are others that have seen what I've done and are going to make their own version of it.
Okay.
It'll come out and affect people within their soul family. They may not have the complete soul codes that I do, but I will complete enough for them that their understanding is there's many new soul families
Mhm.
in this system right now, and then there's a graduating class that's going to come in with a totally different set of soul codes. So they're working with the soul codes that are in the class that's about to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that would be, 3 or 4 degrees of separation away from me, where I have a complete soul code to what's living here now. But I don't have the complete soul code to what's about to migrate in.
Ah. Okay.
So the two of us will cross over information-wise and soul code-wise, and then they'll be able to work in the astral world to complete the soul codes of everyone coming in.
Ah. And then those who graduate, and that's a time of celebration.
Yep. Call it the
And
kegger party.
the kegger party. Thank God we can drink again. And then that's when we're also able to work with some of the spiritual technology that
Correct.
has been available, and that the Galactics and
Clothing will be big.
clothing.
Specialized clothing that amplifies your psychic energies.
Oh, no, right. That's a great idea. I like that one. That's a good one. What else?
You'll have integrated artificial intelligence access, so you can figure out how to make personal mental programs for yourself
Oh,
to get things accomplished.
okay.
There won't be a monetary system, but everything will be overseen by the Earth's consciousness, so there will be no scammers, no telemarketers,
And no secrets.
no secrets.
So there won't be anybody pulling anything on anybody, and that will be a permanent state.
Correct. And then
Okay.
people will get to heal in that energy and be able to extend circles of trust with other people that they never could have before, because there was always the fear of the scam or the lie, or
Right.
which was always in their subconscious,
Right. Right.
because the
And,
system is so corrupt.
and all the fear programming.
Goes away.
Goes away.
And it takes time to heal. I've said this many times before. We're going to need 1 billion healers here.
So those healers are us.
Us.
And we have to step up to the plate and learn first how to heal ourselves,
Yep.
because you can't heal somebody else till you heal yourself.
And if somebody else doesn't want to be healed, you can't make them.
And you can't make them right. You're going against their, okay. But in the new energy, it seems like there will be a large group of people that will seek healing.
Correct.
Just as they're hungry
And
people.
many of them will get it just through pilgrimages, like here to Mount Shasta.
Okay.
The places of power will begin doing their jobs once again at the highest levels.
So all of the sacred spots will be loosened up, so to speak.
Heavily charged with energy,
Okay.
waiting for us to come there to be the bees that pollinate the energy and take it away.
Wow. And so all of these pilgrimages to various places, there will be your local area
local
will be
area.
restored.
Right?
And will there be new grids and ley lines created by the...
The existing grids and ley lines will allow to go back to their natural positions.
Oh, okay.
And there will be people that will be working for many years erasing the old fake grid.
Okay, and the false sacred geometry
Correct.
and the false light codes.
That'll actually be a job of many of the people that want to go in service to Earth.
Okay,
So
so
just disconnecting the sacred geometry city system.
that's a huge task, because
Yes, it
it's
is.
been built up for thousands of years.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, right, right. All the city's names, the city streets, everything has been, pretty much...
Pretty much on the multi-dimensional design.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, do you want to share anything else about before we take over?
I want to finish touching on the Syria conflict.
Okay,
As I was saying, they took all their mind control parts, that it's Al-Qaeda, because Al-Qaeda is an American-created invention.
right,
That was created by time travelers who trained people outside of time to suddenly become cabal members of the flight, who had to be real and at the same time had to be fake.
right,
So they move everything out of Syria because they went to Egypt and Libya. And then when the Libya war became to an end, it was about a drug war there and a gold war there. And then all the leftover zealot program agents went to Syria because Syria's revolution began also. At the same time, Iran began sending its mind control units into Hezbollah to lure Israel out for another fake war event. At the same time, Americans were pounding, we're going into Israel, we're going into Iran. There's 2 carriers out there and 200 websites saying the carrier was sunk. No, it wasn't. Okay. There were many multidimensional action fronts on the oceans during the Iran-America chest bumping of 2011 and 2012 and part of our 2013, where the chicken hawks keep trying to beat the war drums.
ah,
And they're beating their war drums because they're trying to get the machine to wake up and make more war. But the machine's not going to make more war. The recruiters can't get people to go in. And the existing people are leaving because they don't want to be in it anymore, abandoning it left and right.
oh, that's something, of course, we
Then
don't...
you have the companies, because our unemployment, in real unemployment, it's about 35% here in the United States,
Mhm,
even though they're
right.
trying to call it 7%.
Right,
It's well into the 30s. Many of those military vets are screwed up. The only option to get his job back is a private contractor through a military contractor corporation.
right,
And then you're going off and doing worse things than you were in the military.
right,
But you're getting paid $150,000 a year
right, right,
instead of your 32 or 18 that you were in war.
right. So there's just an increasing degradation of the system that's becoming more...
More cannibalistic of itself.
Yes, and it's just eating itself like the snake eating the tail.
It's exactly.
Okay. One of the questions I'll want to ask you in the near future is about David Wilcock's work on uncovering where the hidden reserves are, the movement of gold around the world, and what's actually been happening with that. and that there are secret families, and there's another person that I can't think of his name right now, but and Gordon Duff from Veterans Today had said in one of his shows that an American and a Chinese aircraft carrier were shooting.
38,000 people removed.
Good. All right. Well, when we come back, maybe we can talk about the gold and where it's been and who's
There's
holding.
all sorts of things to deal with the gold.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to remind those people that about the Italian bankers in Switzerland who's found $6 trillion worth of bearer bonds.
$6 trillion.
Yeah, that made the news.
Really? I'm
remember?
out of touch.
I'll show the we can show the clip as part of the video actually.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
CNBC actually had to report that.
That's what seems to be happening, is that they're having to report certain things that are filtering from the underground,
But the thing is, that actual report was the graduating timeline had to have that in it for some of their other plans to exist. That's why they gave it the one consciousness blurb and tried to retract it.
Okay, right. That makes sense.
So they do that frequently.
Yes. Okay, well, stay tuned for more.
Yep.
We'll be back with part 12.